quickly in terms of this distinction in subjects between Whitman and Dickinson, I feel like Whitman talks about expands the subject and makes it more of a we-I dichotomy in the content. Like we need to read the poem and hear what he's literally like the content of what he is saying about being inclusive. Yes. Whereas with Dickinson, the way that multiple subjectivities come into the poem is sometimes by the grammar, but more often than not, it's by a really complicated structuring or reading of it.
You're so smart. Wow. Do you know what she just said? Do you know what you just said? You said that the openness and inclusivity of Whitman is often a matter of content. We would argue it is also a matter of the form that he chooses, but it's in the poem as content. Very rarely is Emily Dickinson going to give you openness and inclusiveness as content. Although we've picked some poems where it does that because that's what ModPo likes to do.
And Whitman uses like periodic sentences or whatever that are also.
And Blab of the Pave is a perfect example of a form saying what he wants to say. But you can find in the content of that street scene the assumption, a liberal, politically liberal assumption that we like everybody to get a chance to be in the poem. A kind of equality of access to poetry. But what you're saying is that a lot of us eventually prefer Dickinson, at least at first. Well, you're not saying that, I'm saying it, but the preference one might have for the study of experimental poetry is that Dickinson teaches us that the content of her inclusiveness and her openness is in the form. That content is never more than something that form does, and that content can be found in form.
Yeah, in a way of
really heady stuff.
In a way of reading it, so like when Dickinson says we or she, we know it's like a general maybe, or just some kind of cosmic we, she, or something. But when Whitman says he means like literally he, the sailor I see over there that I'm writing about in the poem.
Something that he observed in the world. Eric, this is going to